Bibby, a three. Yes! And the Kings have a 1-point lead.
Mike Bibby is one of the most underrated stars of his generation. He was a point guard that let his game do the talking. Bibby was never overly flashy and wasn't one to put up extraordinary stats, but don't be fooled, Bibby was a straight baller and had a killer instinct. Though he wasn't a highlight reel kind of player, he was incredibly smooth. He had an innate ability to let the game come to him, and at his best, he was incredibly difficult to stop. This is the real Mike Bibby story. Mike Bibby's journey began as the best high school player in the country, playing in the state of Arizona. After leading his high school team to a state championship, he was offered scholarships to the program of his choice and opted to stay regional by going to the University of Arizona. As a freshman, Arizona wasn't particularly good in conference play in the Pac-10, but they still entered the NCAA tournament as a 4th seed. Arizona snuck out of the opening weekend with close wins against South Alabama and Charleston. Then, head coach Lute Olson gave Bibby a pep talk, encouraging him to play more free and stop deferring to the upperclassmen on the roster. As soon as Bibby began taking charge, the team went on an epic run. Along the way, they beat 3 number 1 seeds. First up, the Kansas Jayhawks, led by Paul Pierce and Rafe LaFrentz. Then the North Carolina Tar Heels, led by Anton Jameson and Vince Carter. And finally, the Kentucky Wildcats in the finals.
There's that team quickness again.
Bibby open 3 in Arizona. Freshman's line. He starts the dribble at 8. Now drives in, dishes. Davison banks it home.
Bibby showed out in all those games, helping Arizona capture the national title. The next year, Bibby became an All-American and helped Arizona earn a 1 seed heading into the tournament. However, they lost in the Elite Eight to Utah, and Bibby declared for the NBA draft. After the season, it was clear that Bibby was ready for the NBA. He was ranked as the top prospect on many boards and only worked out for the Clippers, the team with the first overall pick. He was projected to go higher than guys like Vince Carter, Anton Jameson, and Paul Pierce, who were all projected to go in the lottery. However, a Nigerian-born 7-footer from the University of Pacific named Michael Olowokandi started climbing draft boards throughout the offseason. Bibby was looked at as a sure thing with a refined game and NBA point guard skills. But many questioned his ceiling in the NBA. The Clippers opted to go with Olowokandi instead, a player at the time considered much more raw and risky, but apparently had more upside. Let's just say that didn't quite pan out for the Clippers. The decision sent Bibby to Vancouver at 2nd overall, a team that he told he didn't want to play for, but drafted him anyway.
You know, I'm 19 years old, and I don't really want to be out of the country. So I don't want to play here. And they were like, we're going to pick you anyway. So, you know, I mean,
Bibby spent 3 seasons losing, but developing in Vancouver. In his 3rd season, he averaged 15.9 points and a career-high 8.4 assists per game. But the Grizzlies failed to contend and were relocating to Memphis.
Traded there with an owner named Michael Heisley, rest in peace, and he gave me the top 5 places I want to go. You know, I named here a few other places, and he said, well, where's the number 1 place you want to go? And I said, Sacramento.
And the Grizzlies granted his wish by trading him along with Brent Price to the Kings in exchange for Jason White Chocolate Williams and Nick Anderson. At the time of the trade, there was a lot of pressure on Bibby, who was highly touted but unproven. Sacramento had recently ascended into a playoff team that played one of the most exciting brands of basketball with some of the slickest passing in the league. Jason Williams was a huge fan favorite and somewhat of a cultural icon. Known for his flashy dribbling and passing, Bibby had big shoes to fill. The Kings brought in Bibby to be himself, though. He wasn't a flashy player like Williams, but at this stage in his career, he was more mature and reliable. Bibby was less turnover-prone and played within the confines of the team. Never one to try to do too much and not much of a stat packer, but Bibby could ball. He could pass, get to the hole, and was a far more reliable shooter than Williams was. That was a big reason why he turned out to be a better fit in Sacramento, because their 2 bigs, Chris Webber and Vlade Divac, loved to pass the ball and set screens. So Bibby's shot-making abilities came into play big time for them. But he also had the playmaking prowess to kick it out to 3-point shooters like Peja Stojakovic and Doug Christie. With Bibby, the Kings reached new heights and became the best team in the NBA.
Category, though. Oh, yeah.
Here's Bibby. Beautiful reverse layup by Mike Bibby.
Bibby for three. Knocks it down. Mike Bibby. And the Kings have their largest lead. Bibby gets inside, and he ties the game.
With 61 wins, the Kings earned the top seed heading into the playoffs above the Lakers and Spurs. Bibby outdueled Stockton and the Jazz in round one, and then Nash and the Mavs in the second round to match up against the Lakers in an all-time epic conference finals.
Weber back to Bibby, has the open shot.
With time ticking down in Game 5, Bibby hit this game winner to take a 3-2 series lead. It looked like the Kings were ready to take down the Kobe Shaq Lakers, who were coming off back-to-back championships, but Game 6 was a total gong show. The Kings held many leads throughout the game, but in the fourth quarter, the refs put the Lakers on the line 27 times compared to just 9 free throws for the Kings.
Shaq with the spin to the reverse. Clutch free throw shooting by Lakers. They have to look for the three here. Bibby shoots the three. Rebound. Sacramento Lakers did not want to foul.
This nasty elbow thrown to Bibby's face by Kobe didn't get called and would have given Bibby a chance to tie the game from the line. Even mainstream media was appalled by the reffing in Game 6, and later on, Tim Donaghy, a referee who was caught rigging games, claimed that the refs from that 2002 Kings-Lakers series rigged the game. The NBA didn't want a New Jersey-Sacramento finals. Bibby and the Kings were just repping too small a market, and the series was close enough that the refs were able to tip the scales. Game 7 was another nail-biter. Despite Bibby scoring 10 of the Kings' last 12 points in the last 3 minutes, the Lakers still managed to inch out a 112-106 overtime victory, eliminating the Kings, one of the all-time great teams that didn't win a championship. Had the refs officiated the series fairly, there's little doubt in our minds that the Kings would have won the series and beaten the Nets in the finals. If that were the case, the legacies of Bibby and Weber would have been looked at differently. Kobe and Shaq, too, for that matter. Still, let's recognize how good Bibby was in that playoffs. Bibby went from averaging 13.7 points during the season as a 23-year-old to 20.3 per game in the playoffs in 2022. And that included a lights-out .424 three-point percentage during the run. Check out his points during the series against the Lakers, too. Nearly 23 points per game in that series, highlighted by a 29-point Game 7 effort. Even though the Kings didn't win it all, Bibby proved that he still had the clutch gene that helped him win it all in high school and then again in the NCAA tournament. Kings management extended him to a big-time 7-year contract worth $80.5 million. And even though Bibby's stats continued to improve with the Kings, they never quite reached the heights they did in 2002. The following season, Weber suffered a torn meniscus in the second round versus the Mavericks.
Weber is down, and that's not good for Sacramento.
Completely down on the baseline.
And without him, the Kings lost in 7 games. In 2004, the Kings lost again in the second round, this time to Kevin Garnett and the Timberwolves, and that was the last straw for management. They began tearing the team down by trading away Weber. They did keep Bibby and actually let him become the focal point of the offense as the team transitioned. In 2005-2006, he averaged a career-high 21.1 points per game, including a stretch in January in which he scored over 40 points 4 times in the month. But Bibby wasn't truly equipped to be the leading scorer of a contending NBA team, and eventually, once the Kings no longer showed any signs of hope, he was traded to a young Atlanta Hawks team. When it was all said and done, Bibby never got it done in Sacramento. But those that watch know that he was way better than his numbers indicate. A lethal player with a full bag of skills and one of the most consistent jumpers in the league. But because of the depth of guards in the Western Conference during his time and possibly his underwhelming stats and small market team, Bibby never was voted into the All-Star game. Anyway, the expectation was actually that he was going to get traded to Cleveland by the Kings instead of the Hawks. He would have joined a Cavs team that just got edged in 7 games by the Celtics that won the championship that year. Could Bibby have been a big enough difference at age 29 to have made the difference for Cleveland? Who knows? But instead, he joined a young Hawks team with guys like Al Horford, Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, and Marvin Williams. And as the starting point guard, Bibby helped them make it to the second round twice.
Up top, He's going to take a quick three. Oh, my Bibby.
Eventually, he got traded to Washington, who agreed to buy him out. He was picked up by the Miami Heat the first year LeBron was there. By playoff time, he was a starter. But he proved to be a poor fit and was seemingly over the hill at that point. The team lost in the finals, and Bibby played one more year in New York before retiring. When it was all said and done, Bibby's career gets a little overlooked compared to some of the other point guards of his time. But we think it's unjust. He deserves an incredible amount of recognition for his heroic NCAA run with Arizona, and his play with Sacramento was nothing short of iconic. We could argue all day about whether or not the Kings could have or should have won the championship in 2002, but what can't be argued is that Mike Bibby was one hell of a hooper. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to let us know by hitting that thumbs up button. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more sports news, stories, and insights. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.